everyone, welcome to Learning Literature with Purba. In today's video, we are going to discuss the Harlem Renaissance, the Jazz Age and the Roaring Twenties. All of these are important American literary movements that took place in the early 20th century. So if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, then do subscribe to it and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update. The Harlem Renaissance was the blossoming of African American culture in the 1920s and the 1930s. It is the most important influential African American movement in literary history. It is the revival of African American music such as the jazz music, dance, art, fashion, literature, theatre and politics. The entire movement was centered at Harlem, Manhattan, New York City. At the time, the movement was also called the New Negro Movement. The name was taken from The New Negro, which is a 1925 anthology by Alan Locke. Now let's take a look at the background of the Harlem Renaissance. Why did this movement take place? What was the need of this movement? So before the American Civil War, majority of the African Americans, they were enslaved in the southern United States. After the American Civil War, the African Americans were free. So now the freed African Americans, they tried to strive for civic participation and political equality. Now, during the mid to late 1870s, the racist whites in the Democratic Party, they launched a campaign of racist terrorism so that they can regain political power in the South. They established many white supremacist racist laws. Under these racist laws, the African Americans could not eat from the same restaurant. In the same restaurant that white people were eating, they could not drink from the same water fountain as the white people. They could not go to the theater that white people visited. So there was massive inequality going on, and this inequality, it continued till 1908. Therefore, the African Americans decided to migrate from the southern United States to northeast USA in Harlem, and this migration resulted in the Harlem Renaissance. So the African Americans settled in Harlem and formed a community there. They started asserting their rights and identity through the power of music, art and writing. They wrote about the slavery and the inequality that they have suffered for years. Some of the important artists associated with this movement are Langston Hughes, Countee Cullen, Claude McKay, Zora Neale Hurston and W.E.B. Du Bois. Now we will take a look at the Jazz Age and the Roaring Twenties. The Jazz Age was a period in the 1920s and the 1930s when jazz music and dance styles became very popular in the United States. Jazz is largely credited to the African Americans. Jazz is a music genre that originated in the African American communities of the New Orleans. Jazz then expanded to the white Americans. Jazz played a very significant role in the cultural changes in this period. The Jazz Age is also sometimes known as the Roaring Twenties. In 1922, American writer F.Scott Fitzgerald popularized the term Jazz Age in his short story collection called Tales from the Jazz Age. In Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, the Jazz Age and the Roaring Twenties is beautifully depicted. The Roaring Twenties is a term used to describe the Western society in the 1920s. Also known as the Jazz Age, in this period we can see a new freedom in the cultural, social and economic aspects of life. people wanted to enjoy a lot of pleasure. So this time is also synonymous with pleasure seeking and people having a really good time after the devastation of the First World War. In America, the economy boomed and there was mass consumerism. For the first time in history, ordinary people, ordinary workers could buy things such as a car or a radio. The Roaring Twenties also saw a loosening of social morals. During this time, in America, alcohol was outlawed. But because of this law that made alcohol illegal, we could see that there were many criminal bootleggers. So the criminal bootleggers are people who sold alcohol illegally and they made a lot of money. So if you have read The Great Gatsby, you know that that is how Gatsby became so rich, by being a criminal bootlegger. And in Great Gatsby, you can see this lavish parties that Gatsby threw for his guests. And all this are a trademark of the Jazz Age and the Roaring Twenties. So that was all about today's video, where we talked about the Harlem Renaissance, we talked about the Jazz Age, and we also talked about the Roaring Twenties. If you found the video helpful, then do like it and share with your friends. I'll be back very soon with a new video on literary work. Till then, stay tuned to Learning Literature with Purba. Also visit our online academy www.learningliteratureWithPurba.com, where you can discover online courses and classes on English literature and creative writing. Also stay connected on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon.